And good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carol Costello. Just ahead in the newsroom, the man who shot and killed an unarmed teenager speaks publicly for the first time, says the incident was, quote, God's plan.
But I do wish that there was something, anything I could have done that wouldn't have put me in the position where I had to take his life.
Hear more from George Zimmerman about the deadly shooting, plus Trayvon Martin's family. What are they saying about this interview this morning? Plus, the Veep stakes is in full swing with some Republican frontrunners emerging. So what's Mitt Romney looking for in a running mate? We're talking to someone who's been through the VP vetting process. He says it's grueling. They check your mental, physical, and even your sexual history. And a chilling scene caught on video. A child predator tries to abduct a 10-year-old girl. The girl was able to get away, but the man, he's still on the loose this morning. But we begin with George Zimmerman. The man who admitted to shooting and killing Trayvon Martin said it was God's plan. Asked if he had regrets, he said no.
I'm not a racist, and I'm not a murderer.
George Zimmerman defended himself in an interview on Fox News. Zimmerman, who's free on $1 million bond, says he acted in self-defense when he shot Trayvon Martin. Says he had to, because Martin was going for his gun.
He said, "You're gonna die tonight," and took one hand off of my mouth, and I felt it going down my chest towards my belt and my holster, and that's when I didn't have any more time.
Zimmerman also apologized to Martin's family, but said he doesn't regret a thing. Not getting out of his car to follow Martin, not having a gun that night.
I am sorry that they buried their child. I can't imagine what it must feel like, and I pray for them daily.
Is there anything you might do differently in retrospect now that time has passed a little bit?
No, sir. I feel that it was all God's plan, and for me to second guess it or judge it.
Trayvon Martin's family is incredulous. Their attorney says the Martin interview is a gift for the Florida State's attorney. As for God having anything to do with what happened in that Sanford neighborhood, Martin's family says, you've got to be kidding.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. God did not have a plan for Trayvon to die and for George Zimmerman to shoot Trayvon for no reason.
To give us more depth on this intriguing maneuver by Zimmerman's team is CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Sunny Hostin. Good morning, Sunny.
Good morning, Carol.
So why do this interview on Fox News?
Well, my understanding is that George Zimmerman had already promised Sean Hannity the first interview, and so that's why it appeared on Fox News. But I think the question is, why give an interview to anyone when you are a criminal defendant facing a term of life in prison if convicted of second-degree murder? In my view, Carol, as an attorney, as a former federal prosecutor, that is never a good idea, and that is because you have now given a statement that you are wedded to. And we know that the government is going to be reviewing the interview to look for any sorts of inconsistencies. And there were inconsistencies in his statement. And so I've got to tell you, if the theory was to sort of try this case in the realm of the public, then perhaps it makes sense, but it does not make sense for a courtroom.
Well, let's talk about some of the contradictions, because George Zimmerman told Sean Hannity that he wasn't following Trayvon Martin. He wasn't running after Trayvon Martin, but the 911 tapes, they tell a different story. The other interesting thing that came out of this is George Zimmerman pointed out that English is actually his second language because his father was away a lot, his mother's Hispanic, and he grew up speaking Spanish. So I found all of that intriguing.
Certainly. I mean, I think the comment about English being, his second language was helpful, perhaps, to the notion that as someone that is Latino, it is impossible for him to be racist. That perhaps is why that was said. But I think your point is an interesting one about the following. He claims that he didn't pursue Trayvon Martin, that he was only there to try to give the police an accurate description of Trayvon Martin and where this took place. Well, that is going to be a crucial piece of this case, Carol. This is all about who pursued, who started this confrontation, because if you start the confrontation, if you are the pursuer, you are not entitled to the stand your ground defense. And so I think it is very interesting that he said, no, I wasn't pursuing him, when on the 911 tape, which is an objective piece of evidence, he says, yes, I was following him. So that is certainly something that I think the government is going to be looking at very, very closely.
Okay, so when all is said and done, that George Zimmerman and his attorney decided to do this very public interview, what does this say about the Zimmerman case, the case his attorney has to present to the court?
You know, it's a very interesting thing for me, having been an attorney for 20 years and trying so many cases. People are really, in this digital age, trying their cases in front of the media. This has become a media phenom, so to speak. And so, you know, I think it does make sense for George Zimmerman to try to appeal to the public. This interview was not an interview with Sean Hannity, Carol. This was an interview with the prospective jurors of Florida. And I think, you know, many people feel that he seemed genuine, that he did a good job. Some people feel the other way. And so it's too soon to tell what effect this will have on the jury pool. But in my view, that would be the only reason why George Zimmerman would be giving an interview at this juncture of this case.
Sonny Hostin, thanks for your perspective this morning.
Thank you.